Okay, so if I ask you to invent the weirdest animal you could think of, you'd probably come up with something like the platypus, right? I mean, it's got a duck's bill, a beaver's tail, the fur of an otter. It's a mashup. For centuries, this little creature hasn't just fascinated people, it has absolutely stumped scientists. So let's get into it and try to solve this incredible biological puzzle.
All right, let's rewind the clock a bit. We're going back to the late 1700s. A specimen of this thing shows up in Great Britain, all the way from Australia. And you'd think the scientists would be amazed, right? A new discovery. But nope, they didn't see a marvel of nature. They thought it was a prank.
In this quote right here from George Shaw, he was the first naturalist to officially write about the animal. It just says it all. He basically said it was impossible not to have doubts about it being real. And you can't blame him. The thing just looked way too weird to be genuine.
I mean, look at this. This is pretty much what they were thinking. The most popular theory going around was that it was a total fake, that some prankster had taken the body of a beaver, chopped a beak off a duck, and just stitched them together. A really elaborate hoax sent all the way from down under. The skepticism was so intense, you're not going to believe this, but George Shaw literally got a pair of scissors and started snipping at the fur. He was actually looking for the stitches, for the thread that would prove it was all a big joke. But of course, he didn't find any, because this unbelievable creature was 100% real.
Okay, so if it's not a hoax, then what in the world is it? Well, the answer completely turned science on its head. It forced everyone to rethink what it even means to be a mammal. Turns out, the platypus is part of this super rare, super ancient group of animals.
And that group has a name, monotremes. Now, what makes a monotreme so special? Well, think about pretty much every mammal you know. They give birth to live babies, right? Not these guys. Monotremes lay eggs. Yeah, eggs, like a bird or a reptile. But they're still mammals because they feed their babies milk. It's just this wild mix of traits.
And let me tell you, it is an incredibly exclusive club. In the entire world, there are only 5, that's right, 5 species of monotremes still around today. You've got the platypus, and then you've got 4 different kinds of echidna. That's it. They're basically living fossils, these amazing relics from a really, really old branch of the mammal family tree.
And it actually took until 1884 for scientists to prove this egg-laying thing for sure. A female platypus will lay just 1 or 2 little leathery eggs, but she doesn't build a nest like a bird. Nope, she digs this complex burrow and hunkers down deep inside to keep them warm until they hatch. But believe it or not, laying eggs is just the tip of the iceberg. That's just where the weirdness starts. This animal isn't just a biological oddity. You could almost say it has a bunch of superpowers that make it perfectly designed for its world.
So, get this. A platypus hunts for its food underwater. But when it dives down, it closes its eyes, its ears, and its nostrils, completely sealed shut. Which brings up a pretty obvious question, right? How on earth does it find anything to eat in the dark, muddy bottom of a river if it can't see, hear, or smell?
Well, the secret is in this number, 40,000. That is a huge number, and that's how many special sensors are packed into that soft, rubbery bill. And they're not for feeling around, and they're not for sniffing things out.
They're actually electroreceptors. The bill works like this super sensitive antenna. It can pick up on the tiny, tiny electrical fields that are generated every time a little shrimp or an insect larva moves a mussel down in the mud. So it's basically seeing with electricity. It's a sixth sense, and it's called electrolocation. How cool is that?
And the rest of its toolkit is just as amazing. I mean, its fur is so thick that it's completely waterproof, and it traps a layer of air to keep it warm. Its front feet are webbed, making them these powerful paddles for swimming. That big flat tail, that's for steering, but it also stores body fat for lean times. Oh, and it's got cheek pouches, like a hamster, to stuff food into and eat when it gets back to the surface.
Okay, so just when you think you're starting to get a handle on this animal, right, it throws you a few more curveballs. Because the weirdness is not done yet. Oh no, it goes way beyond just the electric bill and the egg laying.
I mean, look at it. It looks pretty harmless, right? Kind of cute and cuddly even. But this little guy is one of the very, very few venomous mammals on the entire planet, and its secret weapon is hiding in plain sight.
Now, this is just a guy thing. Only the male platypus has this. On their hind ankles, they have these sharp little spurs, and they're connected to a gland that produces venom. It's not for catching food, though. It's a weapon they use on other males when they're fighting over mates. And I'm told that if you get hit by one, the pain is just excruciating.
And the surprises just keep on coming. So, you know how they feed their babies milk? Well, the mother platypus doesn't have nipples. She basically sweats milk out of pores on her belly. And the babies, which are called puggles, by the way, how cute is that? They just lap it right off her fur. And if that wasn't wild enough, get this. Their fur glows under a blacklight. It's biofluorescent. We don't even know why yet, but it's just another bizarre, amazing layer to this animal.
So with all these incredible adaptations, you can see how the platypus has managed to survive for millions of years. But today, this Australian icon is facing a brand new threat, one it's never had to deal with before, and that threat is us.
Take a look at this map. That's it. That's the platypus's entire world. They only live in the freshwater river systems along the eastern coast of Australia and Tasmania. They need a very specific kind of home, which, unfortunately, makes them really vulnerable when that home starts to change.
And because those changes are happening, the platypus is officially listed as near threatened. So what does that mean? Well, it means they're not technically endangered just yet, but their numbers are dropping. They're getting worryingly close to being at high risk of disappearing from the wild for good.
And the things threatening them, they're pretty much all caused by people. We build dams and irrigation systems that mess with the rivers. Pollution gets into the water and poisons their food supply. Cities expand, and we destroy the riverbanks they need for their burrows. And then, layered on top of all that, you have climate change, which is messing with water flows and temperatures, making their homes less and less stable.
All of this leaves us with a really big, really important question. The platypus is an evolutionary masterpiece, right? It's a living link to the ancient past. It's managed to survive for millions of years against all odds. But the biggest puzzle of all, right now, is whether this incredible survivor can survive us.